The UK government's decision to retain South Africa on its COVID-19 red list has caused outrage, not only from South African travellers, but from the nearly 500,000 UK tourists who come to our shores every year. So British tourists returning from South Africa, even if vaccinated, must quarantine in a government-appointed hotel for 10 days at their own cost. Not a great incentive to holiday here.
So we were totally devastated, to be frank. There's been a lot of work that's gone into this, data put forward, the scientific arguments put forward, the impact that this has had on the economy has been highlighted.
As CEO of Southern African Tourism Services Association, David Frost is the voice of inbound tourism. Over 400,000 UK travellers to South Africa annually pre-COVID. What kind of expenditure and contribution are we missing out on right now?
We lose 26 million rand per day by being on the red list. The UK is our biggest single source market. The average spend per UK visitor is around 30,000 rand. So these are massive losses.
Being on the red list has a huge knock-on effect on our tourism industry and the wider economy, which supports 1.5 million jobs from travel agents, B&Bs, tour guides, and even crafters. Around 1 in 7 South Africans put food on their tables either directly or indirectly through tourism.
Something that is particularly acute is the emerging black businesses that have been growing over the last, say, 10 years. It's great that we've had domestic tourism up and running, but domestic tourism is generally not going into township tourism. That township tourism product, if you will, was really specifically fueled and supported by the foreign market. So, you know, those are small companies that don't have cash reserves, that don't have strong balance sheets. So they just fall away.
Expats and families who are separated make up a large part of the inbound market, like 𝗀𝗃𝗁𝗁𝗀.
I came to visit my elderly mum. She's nearly 95. And on my return, I was treated like every other sort of traveller from a red list country. In spite of the fact that I live in London, that I've got the passport, and that I was double jabbed in London. On my return, when I got to Heathrow, it was straight to the quarantine hotel for me, where I'd spent 10 full days.
Costing Dion about 40,000 rand for bad food, no heat, and limited access to fresh air.
When you're in one room where the window can't even open and you've got no interaction with any other humans, it does feel a bit like solitary confinement. I was allowed out twice a day for 20 minutes to do a bit of exercise.
You've been very expressive on Twitter about your experience, even going as far as calling it farcical.
You feel like you're some sort of criminal, you know, who needs to be locked up in prison. And then the way that they treat you, every time you want to go outside, you've got to phone security so that they could escort you because they're scared that you may run away. It's quite denigrating in terms of your basic human rights.
It's caused great distress. Families have been not been able to see each other. Babies have been born. People have been sick. People have died. It's been a huge challenge emotionally. But I think from a commercial and economic level, it's been disastrous.
As president of the British Chamber of Business, Leon Ayo interacts with 600 members of corporates based in South Africa that rely on our travel industry. So what are you saying to your members to alleviate these concerns and these frustrations?
At the British Chamber, we've got the likes of Virgin Atlantic, British Airways, we've got hospitality organisations that have essentially been grounded overnight. And I can assure you, I spoke with the Deputy High Commissioner this morning, I spoke with the outgoing High Commissioner and the incoming High Commissioner. This is top of our agenda here, flying the flag for Great Britain in South Africa.
Mark Mendelsohn is Professor of Infectious Diseases at the University of Cape Town. Prof, do you think there's any reason whatsoever that can justify this decision?
Well, the reasons have been a little bit baffling. So the red list countries are designated such because of a number of different criteria. Our cases, as you know, have dropped. We're now surfing down near the bottom of our third wave. Our vaccination program is ramping up.
And importantly, South Africa has the capacity to monitor how the genome of the virus is mutating.
Now, South Africa's sequencing is extremely high level and far better than most of the countries that were taken off the red list.
The British High Commissioner didn't grant us an interview, issuing a statement saying, in part, We welcome recent positive developments in South Africa, with cases going down, data on variants of concern improving, and vaccination rising. While a small number of cases, the continued presence of the Beta variant in the community remains a concern given its potential ability to circumvent vaccines. But scientists say this explanation doesn't hold.
That's totally and utterly incorrect. In September, we haven't had any Beta variant sequenced, to my knowledge, and certainly between May to September, so May, June, July, August, we saw a massive drop in Beta. Currently, our circulating strains causing infections in South Africa are the Delta strain, not the Beta strain. If the UK government were listening and looking at the data, they would see that our excellent scientific work in sequencing is now showing that it's the Delta variant, not the Beta variant. So I think they're working on old data, and it's not right, and it needs to change.
Last Friday, 8 countries, including Kenya, were removed from the list of the 64 red countries.
We spoke to people in Kenya. They got off the red list. And we were asking them, what did you guys do? Ultimately, the feedback was, we don't know. It goes into a black hole.
We have higher fully vaccinated people in this country as opposed to Pakistan and Kenya, who have been removed off the list.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Kenya has 1.6% of its population vaccinated, Pakistan around 10%. We've had over 15 million people receiving a vaccine. So I think that, that also doesn't stand up to scrutiny. And obviously, we'd love to be at 100% vaccination, but that's not the case. And it's definitely not the case, nowhere near the case, for the countries that have been taken off. Remember, the scientists advise, they don't make the policy. The policy is made by ministers. And that, I think, is where the problem lies.
That's where the incredulity comes from, is this feeling that there is not being applied a consistent set of criteria, and that somehow South Africa is languishing on this red list position in a fairly pernicious and unfair way.
Following the intervention of our government and the British High Commission, changes are now expected, which should reflect in the UK's review of the red list in 2 weeks.
What is going to happen in the next couple of days is our top scientists are going to sit down with the UK scientists, and we really are going to just try and close this knowledge gap. Once our scientists engage with their UK counterparts and the science is allowed to prevail, that, the penny will finally drop. We're hoping if we can crack that, we can get travel between the two countries up and running again.